One of blockchain's biggest promises has always been tangled up with one of its biggest problems, privacy. So today, we're going to take a look at a project called Tokamak ZKEVM that's taking a really novel approach to building private applications without making you compromise.
But before we dive into all the tech, let's just step back and ask a really fundamental question. With thousands of crypto tokens out there, what actually makes one valuable in the long run? Is it just hype, or is there something more to it? And believe it or not, that question is right at the heart of the Tokamak project's entire strategy.
And their answer is pretty simple. It all comes down to meaningful utility. See, the goal here isn't just to launch some cool new tech. It's to build a platform where decentralized apps, or DApps, can actually thrive with a token that people are using for real economic activity. This is what grounds a token's value in something real, not just speculative hype.
Okay, but to build that kind of utility, you first have to solve a problem that honestly affects the entire crypto space. We can call it the privacy paradox. So on one hand, you've got public blockchains. And look, their radical transparency is a feature, not a bug, especially for things like auditing. But for so many real-world applications, I'm talking about private trading strategies or sensitive user data, that same transparency is an absolute deal-breaker. You just can't build certain types of apps on a completely open ledger. It doesn't work. So, what about the privacy solutions we have right now? Well, a lot of them introduce a brand new problem. They rely on a centralized sequencer, basically a single operator that processes all the transactions. So to use them, you have to reveal your sensitive data to this middleman, which completely defeats the whole purpose of decentralized privacy, right?
So how does Tokamak plan to solve this paradox of needing privacy without trusting some random middleman? Their answer is this really comprehensive vertically integrated stack. Let's break down their three-layer solution.
It all starts at the foundation with the ZK Snark proving system. This is the core cryptographic magic that makes everything else possible. Then you've got the engine, the Tokamak ZKEVM. This is the absolutely crucial piece in the middle that translates regular smart contract code into these special cryptographic proofs. And then finally, you have the application layer, which they call private app channels, and this is where developers actually get to build their private DApps for all of us to use.
Now, let's really zoom in on that engine, the Tokamak ZEVM, because this is where the core innovation really shines.
So this slide highlights a huge difference in architecture. Most zero-knowledge systems out there use what's called a universal approach. Think of it like trying to build one single giant, super complex circuit that can handle every possible task you throw at it. Tokamak does the exact opposite. It builds small, simple circuits for very specific tasks, and then assembles them only when they're actually needed.
Think of that universal approach like a Swiss Army knife. It's kind of impressive, right? It's got a tool for everything, a corkscrew, a screwdriver, even those tiny scissors. But let's be real. If all you need to do is cut a piece of paper, you're still carrying around the weight and complexity of all those other tools you're not even using. That's the overhead of a giant, universal circuit.
The Tokamak approach, on the other hand, is way more like a custom toolkit. You only pull out the exact tools you need for the job at hand. By building a specialized circuit just for that task, the system avoids all that unnecessary baggage. And the result? Well, generating a proof becomes so much lighter, faster, and way more efficient.
So why does any of this matter so much? What does a more efficient engine actually mean for you, for me, for developers? Well, it all comes back to control. It comes back to true privacy.
And here it is. This is the crucial payoff. Because generating a proof is so much lighter, you no longer need some powerful, specialized server to do all the heavy lifting. This completely removes the need for that centralized middleman we were talking about. So the real advantage isn't just about hiding your data on-chain. It's that you never, ever have to trust a third party with your private data in the first place. So let's look at what this efficiency really unlocks for everybody. For users, this is revolutionary. You can generate privacy proofs right on your own phone or laptop without your data ever leaving your device. For developers, it's a huge win because they can just keep writing smart contracts in Solidity, the language they already know and love. And for the whole system, it reduces the reliance on big centralized servers, which just makes everything more robust and more decentralized.
Okay, so this is a really compelling vision, but is it just a theory? Is it just an idea on a white paper? Let's take a look at their roadmap and see where the project actually stands today.
So, the good news is Tokamak isn't starting from scratch. They've already moved this from theory to practice. A proof of concept for the core system is already done, and it successfully demonstrated a private channel for simple transfers of ERC20 tokens. You know, the standard for most assets on Ethereum. This is a big deal. It proves the fundamental architecture actually works.
The next major step is to really level up. The goal is to show off a much more complex dApp that can create and store private information, kind of like how Zcash's shielded notes work. This will be the moment that proves the system can handle sophisticated apps, that it's easy for developers to use, and that it's more efficient than the other options out there.
This slide gives you a really clear side-by-side comparison with other approaches, like those general-purpose ZK VMs. And what you can see is that while those are designed to be these universal proving machines, often for huge jobs like validating entire Layer 1 blocks, Tokamak is different. Its strength is in that lower overhead and the fact that it's totally native to the Ethereum development experience. It's not trying to be the best at everything, it's hyper-focused on being the absolute best solution for one very specific, very valuable use case: private, application-specific channels. And that kind of brings us to our final thought. For years, the lack of practical, easy-to-use privacy has been this huge barrier to real blockchain adoption. By making privacy efficient, developer-friendly, and user-controlled, a system like this could be the key. So the question we're left with is, could this targeted, app-specific approach to privacy finally be the thing that unlocks blockchain's true, real-world potential?